I hope you had a chance to grab some sleep and fresh for whatever half day of interactive session further. Building a venture, you have multiple sources of learning for that. My journey started in 2001 when I became part of Bharti Airtel and was blessed to think of building a venture. That time, I had a couple of resources with me, and one book was Good to Great. There, came to know about level 5 leaders, professionalism with humility. Down the line, 4 years, there was another book called Build to Last. That gave me big, hairy, audacious goals and how to think about building them. While this journey was going on, then there came the overarching concept of conscious capitalism, and luckily me and Rohtash, whom I'm going to be introducing soon, we were invited as special members in 2010 in Taj Hotel, sponsored by Taj Group, to go and learn something about this topic. If I have to express this in 2 words, it is about a purposeful organization and the human potential, which is unlimited, a process of liberating that for that purpose. Very simply, these 2 concepts got engraved as early as 2010 for me. Why we've chosen you to be inducted to this concept today? In your minds, you must be thinking, you're fighting for survival. You're looking for your first customer. You are the ones who don't know when will the next round of funding come by. And still, we want to inculcate this new concept of conscious capitalism. Actually, for me, you're the presidents of your nations. You're going to be building corporations that are going to be living beyond your own lives. And these are the corporations for which the culture, the spirit will start from you. And in case you're able to learn something today from these sessions, is going to be meaningful for life. How come we picked up Rohtash for this session? I know him. He's been helm of large corporations since the time I've known him, over 20 years plus. My first interaction with him was such a warm welcome when I went for induction in Madhya Pradesh, in actually New Delhi, Airtel operations, so he's a colleague from Airtel. When I moved to operating role, I had his blessings as a elder brother in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, largest fixed line operations. The reason I've chosen him to be part of you today is because he's one of you. 2012, he started his own startup, an agri-tech service venture, E3M, and agri-services. 2018, it was chosen as the most innovative startup or most innovative corporation amongst the top 10 most innovative corporations from India. A journey of just 6 years at that particular point in time. He, as a chairman, guides his son to lead that venture. Funded by some of the known VCs around us, alums of IIT IIMs, has practiced this particular art. We know last time, if you were there in our leadership forum in Faridabad, you know one of our mentors, Shalini Lal, she was there at the investor day, handpicked by him to groom organization design and culture at Escorts, where the turnaround happened. Today I present to you Rohtash, who's a practitioner of this particular concept, got to know even ahead of me of this particular concept, and is living it day in, day out. Rohtash, welcome to the forum.
Thank you, Sunil. Good morning. Good morning. I am coming into you stronger than before.
Yes.
Duly caffeinated. Last night was lovely. I haven't enjoyed myself so much for a while.
You sang very well.
Grateful. You were fishing for a compliment. I'm going to give it to you.
Compliment मिल चुके हैं.
बहुत खूबसूरत गाया आपने. Sunil called me a few days ago, and he's the primary reason I'm here. I can't turn an invitation down from somebody I respect and admire, a very fine human being. And when somebody like that calls you and says, "Can you do this for me?" Sure, I can. Reason one. Reason two, the subject itself. I've been an avid follower for 12 years, not 10. First introduced to it through a book called Firms of Endearment. Look it up, it's an amazing read, an easy read, written by an Indian, Raj Sisodia. And then of course nailed in by this rather phenomenal 4 days in Mumbai, some of these concepts. And in the course of the next 60 minutes, I have the awesome job of taking roughly 20 years of managerial thinking and compressing it into 3,600 seconds or something like that. I try and do my best. And as I've been informed that you had almost a no PPT conference so far. I'm not going to break that rule. I don't have one. In fact, as a matter of discipline in my current organization, this new company, of which I'll talk about for 10 seconds, and why it is doing what it is doing. We have banned PPTs. Thou shalt not bring a PPT into the conference room. Thou shalt not bring a phone into this conference room. And if I see a laptop in the conference room, your history. I mean, it's as bad as that. I think what we're losing over time is the ability to consciously communicate, consciously engage from the head, from the chest, and a lot of these devices are actually coming in the world. And as far as PPT is concerned, not an original idea. I picked it up from Jeff Bezos. So at Amazon, they don't use PPTs. They use 2-page write-ups if you ever have an idea on to present a concept. So I have a little cheat sheet for myself. I tried to put together a logic stream of what this is all about. That 1 minute I talked about EM3 agri-services. We were the first, we are still the first, or arguably the only one still. We are what is known as the Uber of agricultural equipment. And translating that into Uber of agri-technology. The idea simply is the farmer should not have capex to put on his shoulder. He orders a taxi called a tractor, a harvester, equipment. Our operators land up, do the job, charge per acre, just like you get charged per kilometer and off you go. Right? And now tech comes in to deploy efficiently, effectively, measure quality, money transactions, invoicing, But that's the short idea. Essentially, the Indian farmer cannot afford capex. At roughly 4 acres per owner, the value creation is just about 80,000 to a lakh of rupees. I'm not talking about horticulture and so on. 80,000 to a lakh of rupees for a family of 4 or 5 for a year. Capex out. So when capex does get loaded on, you have farmer suicides. So essentially what we are solving is the problem of the farmer gaining access to technology without which productivity is not possible, because without which we can't grow our food to any level. So that's roughly what we do. I'll link it back to some of the learnings. And when I retired formally after 35 years in industry, the first thing on my mind was, if I'm going to do something in the next innings of my life, it better be something that is A, capitalist, B, socialist. And I'll try and put this together. These are not 0 ones, because that is essentially the de-learning that I had 10, 12 years ago. Because we were brought up in the IITs and the IIMs. We were the foot soldiers of capitalism. And we learned that, and as a lot of you will have already been subjected to, we learned that capitalism was what? We are and were the foot soldiers of capitalism, right? There are no foot soldiers of socialism because the wall went. History has been written always by the victors. And when socialism vanishes, so does its history. But believe you me, if you go back 30, 40 years, the moral high ground was equally on both sides. There were different persuasions, essentially like different religions of money, or different religions of satisfying the human need. And we tend to believe in most of the world that that has been wiped out. Those are other reasons. So let not the effect drown out the cause. And I urge all of us to think about this very deeply, because along with it went all the lessons of it, the human side of it. And but I'm going to read to you and I am going to excite you into, I'm going to ask you a question. But should I read it to you before? No. So what's so great about capitalism? And I'll bring this up in the next 3 minutes. Can we have a quick round of participation on this? What's great about capitalism?
Growth, progress.
Growth, progress. May I? I think
Innovation.
we're alive enough. Growth, progress, innovation.
More efficient.
Efficiency.
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy, brilliant.
Freedom.
Freedom, great.
American dream.
Overall upliftment of the society.
Competition is great. Why?
Because we are competitive with
Fine. So it's for elevation of
Lowest cost of goods.
efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Efficiency. Yeah.
That's it.
wealth.
Money.
Wealth, money. Wealth, why? Wealth, money, why?
Because the wealth probably
Creation of wealth.
Yeah, why? Why creation of wealth?
Consumption.
Standard of living.
That's consumption.
Best allocation of capital. Best allocation of resources. Ego.
Ego. Wow. Good one. Flag it. Because that's the celebration of the human spirit. It's not a wealth. So with that as a backdrop, tell me what's wrong with it.
greed.
Huh?
Greed.
Greed. Okay.
Individualistic.
Individualistic.
Disparity. Exploitation. Inequality.
Yes.
Inequality. Lopsided.
Yes.
Missing human side.
Yeah. Cutthroat.
Missing human side of the.
Sorry?
Missing human side of the transactions.
Missing the human side of transaction.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Empathy. Lack of empathy.
So I'm already seeing a balance, right? You have a healthy respect and I can see a healthy disrespect. And essentially, it's the tension between these two concepts that I expect to get across 58 minutes later or during it. The fact is, this is a double-edged sword, and like any other tool, it has a good and a bad side. The next question is going to challenge you a little more. What is so great about socialism?
Equality.
Equality was great. K, I am now going to need a pen. Because these fundas will need to be challenged. Okay?
Equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity, that was great about it, right? Equal land, equality, equal opportunity.
Taking care of people who were not able to take care of themselves.
The underprivileged. Again equality.
Elevation of society as a whole.
Again equality.
A uniform fabric.
A uniform fabric.
Better healthcare, better education.
Again equality. Again equality.
Peace.
Watch these are nuances. And just look at the struggle that we have in this. 40 people multiplied by 160.
Less is more.
Sorry?
Less is more. You have a
Less is more.
You don't have control over life
You don't have control over life.
or what you do.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Somebody else is going to control your life.
Not true.
Officially.
Not true. How it was practiced in China and Russia are great examples of cooperative federalism, believe you me.
So what I meant by less.
We called SHGs, right? Self-help groups and all. It's an invention of a century ago. Now look at this. I wasn't too far wrong when I said history is written by the winners. We are struggling with it. Now what it did do is that in the context of the time, where the pyramid of the human was very, very tall, it raised the bottom of the pyramid. Basics, right? Something that India still struggles with. I wonder if India graduated to capitalism of the American variety far too fast. But that's another debate, and that's not my persuasion as well. I'm a hidebound capitalist. Why? I'm going to read to you 3 lines, and I'll just move on because that sort of sets the pace for the rest. It says, we believe, the authors believe, there's a book called Conscious Capitalism, again by Sisodia and John McKay, who was the founder CEO of Whole Foods, one of the finest companies exemplified by conscious capitalism. We believe capitalism is good because it creates value, it's ethical because it's based on voluntary exchange, it's noble because it elevates our existence, it's heroic because it lifts people out of poverty, it creates prosperity. Free enterprise capitalism is the most powerful system, this is the winners speaking, for social cooperation and human progress ever conceived. It is one of the most compelling ideas we humans have ever had. But we can aspire to do something greater. I'll take this as God's truth with a shaker of salt. Yeah, because for every bit that I can agree with it, I can come up with half an objection. The practice of socialism, particularly in China and Russia, actually put pain to it. It did not allow the human spirit to come up. It actually created another power order, where a few anybody familiar with Animal Farm?
Yeah.
All? Okay. 95 rupee book, 95 pages or something like that. George Orwell? Go read it again. Right? You understand India today. So it's the story of this farm, eventually the pigs have it. Right? And they run the social order. Go back to it. So, we were talking about what's wrong with capitalism and why the word conscious comes into existence. One of the biggest problems that capitalism has created, it has concentrated, not capitalism, but what we practice, it has concentrated too much money into too few hands. Right? Which effectively means that the number of disenfranchised has increased over time. You have been raised out of poverty, so your basic existence is taken care of. But if evolution for the top of the pyramid is a different definition to that at the bottom of the pyramid, you have a problem, and you have a very strong case for social tension and class wars. We are beginning to see that in India already, right? That knock on your car door at the red light, its intensity is increasing. It's signaling something. We better be watchful, because when there is turmoil, when there is a tide, a lot of institutions and a lot of people and a lot of structures get washed away. It has happened many times in history. I'm scared. not petrified, only slated. So, the other thing about the practice of capitalism as we know it, nobody mentioned the term win-lose versus win-win. So there's a term known as blue water capitalism versus red water capitalism. Blue water capitalism is where dolphins dance, and red water capitalism is where sharks fight. When sharks fight, the water turns red. Sharks do turn winners, right? They are highly muscular, a very, very muscular animal, unlike the dolphin. But the fact of the matter is there are winners and losers. So in a sense, you are probably looking, in capitalist terms, at a zero-sum game. Sometimes a negative sum. That within the win-lose also, the amount of energy that is taken by one is far less than the energy created, or rather lost by the other, and friction takes care of the difference. Yeah? Do we need that? Do we really need that? Or are there frontiers where you don't need to fight to create value? You don't need to take on the next guy. So this jumbled up term called conscious capitalism or capitalism with a conscience, I find too syrupy, too sweet. To me, the word conscious is aware. Are you aware whether you're creating value or not creating value? Now, I leave it to the good judgment of the world at large, you in particular, whether finding the nearest florist, I'm sure it is of value, or indeed hailing a ride, which is again, I understand it is of value, or a lot of enterprises, you might ask your question, what did you do to change the needle? Did you shift anything? Or did you take it away from somebody? Look at the war that Amazon and Flipkart today are having with producers of goods. Those guys are up the creek, right? These guys are losing billions of dollars a month. Something is amiss. So the 200 years of value creation of our society since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution is actually being wiped out by some of these adventures. The cost of capital in most parts of the world, it's like 1%, 0.5%. What does that tell you? You're sitting on a tidal wave of capital that doesn't know what to do with itself. Makaan hai, kiraya ka paisa nahi. Something is amiss. Interest is the cost of renting money. Right? Something is amiss. We, as a society, haven't been able to put money to purpose. Yeah. Which reminds me of the other defining thing about conscious capitalism. अब मैं हिंदी से बोलता हूँ, मकसद क्या है? काहे कर रहे हैं? So we were taught back at the institute that we even taught that. वो भी बाहर जाके पता चला, वहाँ तो कुछ नहीं सीखा था. Actually कुछ नहीं सीखा. तो कहने को IIT गए थे, cream of the cream. That's why it's at the top. We discovered that the scum also floats to the top. But that aside, you are who you are in those institutes of higher learning because of the churn of the selection process. You found yourself there. वहाँ जाके तो कुछ नहीं सीखा था, अपने आपस में सीखा था. So you were taught, बाद में सीखा था. And what's the vision of your organization? So vision, mission, strategy, tactics. Hard-coded? Hard-coded? वो why कहाँ है? Why vision? Why mission? So this little thing called purpose becomes the center. In fact, it looks somewhat like, when did I lose the pen? कुछ ऐसा दिखता है. Thank you. Vision, mission. All these are tactical tasks, so on. This became the vision. The question is, if you reflect very deeply, the center is not this. The center is purpose. Therefore vision, therefore mission, therefore strategy, therefore tactics. सवाल ये उठता है काहे कर रहे हो? Why are you doing what you are doing? And that is a cause of very deep reflection. Organizations of purpose are actually proven to be exceedingly far better performing than the built to last and the, what is the other one? Jim Collins, good to great. I'll share with you some very fine data that Raj Sisodia came up with, which is why I brought the book with me. It's a little bit of a table. Where companies that had purpose in their existence actually ended up creating far greater value. And I shall read that to you, and before I lose my train of thought, since I don't have a PPT, that keeps you honest in a way. I do flag this because I do want to talk about the finiteness of the enterprise. Yeah? So, let me share with you the business case. So what Raj Sisodia did in, here we are. What Raj Sisodia and his compatriots did at Bentley University in the early part of the century, they decided to analyze the business returns relative to S&P. So whatever the Sensex of the world was, Standard & Poor or whatever, you took that as a trend line, and then you mapped on the business performance defined by various parameters like ROCE, ROE, etc. on that, and discovered something amazing, that the good to great companies and the companies that were built to last companies were actually their approach to life, their approach to business caused them to outpace the Sensex or rather the Standard & Poor, obviously. But he found something peculiar in these hundreds of companies, thousands of companies he analyzed. He found there was a set of companies that were outpacing the good to great companies and the built to last company by another factor of 5. So if growth was X, for these companies it was 3X, it's kind of 10 to 15X. Over a period of 3, 5, 7, 10 years. So it's not a flash in the pan performance. He said, what's so great about these companies? And those sightings, and I shared the data with you, caused him to write this book called The Firms of Endearment. And take on the terms of endearment. And what is culturally different about them? I'll quickly give you some numbers. Cumulatively, over the last 15 years from this study, the S&P grew by 6.5% CAGR. The good to great companies grew by 7%. And this is over a 15-year period. And the FOE, Firms of Endearment companies, grew by 21%. So that's 4 times the index. And in a 3-year span, a 3 and 5 year span, these figures were absolutely outstanding. I'll pick up a 5-year thing because 2.9% for the S&P, minus 8.4 for the good to great, and almost 10% for the Firms of Endearment. Right? I don't think a more compelling case can be created why we need to think about. We're all interested. We're dyed-in-the-wool capitalists. We're all interested in corporate performance, our corporate performance, or whatever we do. And some of these companies around the table here, fledglings, and those would be your concerns as founders over time. Do I create institutions of value? Or am I going to play Ocean's 11? Ocean's 11 is a damn good business model, right? Look at the tech that goes into it. Look at the intensity of effort that goes into it. The mission. Please, it's a classic management case of how to run a great company. And success at the end. And the girl also comes with it. Okay, I don't know how to value that, but the rest of it is amazing. And the panache with which these guys walk out of the casino. It was amazing, right? You could do that too. But I'm certain that's not the intent of this group. You're talking about creating enduring value, right? You're not wanting to do a win-lose. So I leave this thought right here. And where did I say I'm going to trail off? Please remind me. I'm checking your awareness. Okay, so two aspects here. I'll use my hands. Boundaryness. Now, one way to look at your enterprise is that your boundary is your P&L and balance sheet. But even the most unaware, I'm not talking about this group, of anybody who runs a business, will agree that any boundary for it to exchange value has to be permeable. That skin has to be a permeable skin. अंदर कुछ आता है, बाहर कुछ आता है. Value आती है, value जाती है. Right? But if the focus is that on what is inside that boundary is minimal, is maximal, and what goes out outside the boundary, I don't care how the profits come, is minimal, you are bound to create finite mix in the organization. Agreed postulate? Reasonable? So therefore, that leads the human mind to the question, I need to focus what's outside the boundary. Because unless you create value, you're not going to get value. I can always do an Ocean's 11 and take value without giving anything in return. I can have the, what do you guys call it? The killer app. Yeah. It's somehow gone out of fashion that word. So I have that killer app that's going to suck in value from the outside. Kitni der chalega? Kal 10 aur khade ho jayenge. And then you have millions of apps doing the same thing. And therefore nobody is going to pay you for your app. There's a finiteness to your... So what then is going to transmute your thinking, our thinking, to say I need an enduring organization which consistently creates value. So now we start looking at a distinction called shareholders and how am I doing for time? Seems my watch is gone off me. Am I about halfway?
Yeah.
Right. I'll pace myself. I want to leave about half an hour for engaging. And the more different the opinions are, the better. But the okay, I'm going to end up in 10 minutes. I can go on and on and on. So here are we at a point where we need to come up with another postulate called shareholders versus stakeholders. Okay, now I need your attention to think rather deeply about this one. Shareholders are what brings in money because your shares are denominated in money, and that is a democracy of capital. As are votes on the table. The votes on the table determine the direction you will take, and there will be certain kinds of stakeholders, shareholders, that will lead you like this when you actually want to go like this. Which is why there's a note in some material that was sent by you saying the quality and the DNA of money is crucial. Is it in line? Is it in alignment with who I am? Because then that friction surface, that friction layer is gone. So now what are stakeholders? Shareholders, it's easy, no? So from the dawn of the Industrial Revolution almost till the 90s, you could happily go along that definition saying maximization of shareholders' wealth is more or less going to take care of stakeholders' wealth. The saturation of markets and so on is the differential. But who are stakeholders? Let's take Philip Morris as an example. It has a certain set of shareholders, and tobacco has been an exceedingly profitable business as the cannabis is coming up now. सारे टूल हो जाएंगे, कुछ करेगा नहीं. But if you look at a stakeholder called a smoker, and you look at the net wealth creation of tobacco enterprises, of whom I'm once in a while consumer as well, a past smoker. The fact of the matter is you've destroyed far more value than you've created. And yet you've been rewarded. Your leaders have taken millions of dollars a year back home. Your shareholders have rolled in wealth, etc., etc. And this is an extreme example, but there are many, many, many examples along the way. So the concept of stakeholder that I'm going to start skidding towards Indian examples. Take Maruti Suzuki. I have the privilege of serving that company for 5 years. I ran sales and marketing for that period. And I fairly deep insight on how that company thinks, how the Japanese think rather. The consumer is a stakeholder, right? He deserves transportation, and given the structure, economic structure of society, where he can afford cars at this level of price, and this, and this, and this, but not that, which is where the Germans and the Americans are. And that's why GM and Ford, another debate, folded up in India. You could look up an article that I wrote a year or two ago when GM exited as to why it exited. We predicted that 25 years ago when they came. Lachan theek nahi the the signs are early. But back to this. So Suzuki thinks about consumers, major stakeholders. Suppliers, major stakeholders. Dealers, major stakeholders. Employees, major stakeholders. And none of them own a share of Maruti Suzuki. But the fact that Maruti Suzuki, then Maruti Udyog, focuses very, very deeply, consciously, conscientiously on these stakeholders, actually causes them to be as wealthy and as outperforming a company that is. But think about this. This cause-effect relationship is not quarter-based, half-year-based, annual-based. This is over a period of 25 years. Sustaining the troughs and the waves, or the troughs and the highs, over 25 years, staying true to these values. Right? And no balance sheet, no P&L, no MBA class is ever going to teach us this. And I'll get into how they do it. Take the Tatas, for example. Well known, finest examples globally of conscious capitalism. And I think everybody knows everything because it's such an old, solid story and nothing more needs to be said or told. But within that enterprise, within that behemoth, there are smaller enterprises that forgot this direction and actually over a period of time vanished. Nelco, anybody remember that company? Yeah. Right? And there are many. They just vanished over a period of time. So I'm going to come back to this and two more points before I come to a couple of cases. The crash of 2008, there's a movie on this, Matt Damon.
The Big Shot.
Inside
Job.
Inside Job.
Okay, Wolf of Wall Street,
Inside Job.
In the Inside Job. That's the one. In fact, a definitive piece of work, almost 2 hours long, as they say, was kind of bleeding of the way. Now, what caused that? The creation of the word wealth. The definition of the word wealth actually is at the root of this. Is it the money that you have? As Mr. Modi proved to you, you aren't worth a dime. Right? The day he says, "Kal subah tera note to gaya." Okay? And you and I survived it because we had it in other forms of wealth somewhere else. But what was at home vanished overnight. But it did for large. We haven't recovered from it yet. Besides the point, my apologies to other supporters of Mr. Modi in this group. Fact of the matter is, I'm at the point when I'm talking about the definition of wealth. What is wealth? Is it the rupees that you own, the dollars that you own? Is it your bank account? Is it? Those are the numbers game of the word wealth. 2008 showed us those derivatives, the Fannie Mae derivatives and the Morgans and so on. They created myths of wealth and they started measuring those. Right? Now, what's the lesson to a firm which wishes to create enduring value? It needs to watch those indices and it needs to throw away those indices at the same time. And I urge you to think about yourselves. And this is a very Indian concept. We are used to holding thesis and antithesis in the same hand and create a synthesis. That's our ethos. That's our culture. Right? So watch those indices. Watch those parameters. Yet disrespect them. I love data and I disrespect data at the same time. There's so much that can tell me, there's so much hides from me. And therefore, I need to go back to my authentic self, which is, I have two halves, arguably, of my head. One is my left brain, and I think logic, I think numbers, I need sequences, I need data, right? And the other is I feel. You would say it's half of the brain. This part, the left part, actually is 6%. Psychologists will tell you 94% is what you feel, what you sense. And those are subjects of, deep introspection. And can these be the only guiding compasses? And these not? I suggest we are headed in the wrong direction. And I'll bring it back to the same, I'll wrap it around and say, the word conscious is about the awareness at a business level about these 6% or half, whatever you want to call it, and manage with both compasses at the same time. And oftentimes they'll be like this. And the entire effort to bring it here is actually a major effort. Ask me, I just laid off 85 employees a few days ago. Yeah? And painful exercise. But that's what I'm ashamed of. What I'm proud of is how we did it. We laid them off from a secure 30-day job. But we gave them business opportunity worth 4 times of what they could earn in these 30 days. Right? We went and made village-level businessmen out of them. Village-level stores that could trade in a lot of things. So it goes off my balance sheet within the ecosystem. The energy gets transferred there. He makes more money. I'm at lesser cost. Right? This pulling together of these two compasses is actually painful and takes a lot of time figuring out what to do. But you have to figure it out. If you just lay off people, you can go to sleep easy. Your balance sheet P&L just got bumped up. Right? But is there awareness of your surroundings? Because tomorrow, my business is in those villages. I don't have a business if I haven't got people there who are hailing the fact that we've come as saviors of their models. Right? We don't have a business if you don't have the money. So that's a personal example. So with that, I think I'm a little over half time, and I'm going to round off with another 3 minutes before I get into Q&A and some. So I want to talk about for a few minutes 10 points or 8 points on what conscious capitalism is not. Right? It was important for me to get across what it is and what it is not. So what I've got down is conscious capitalism is not lipstick on a pig. Sorry for the gender insensitive remark. Right? It's not about looking good. Right? A pig is a pig is a pig. So it's not about looking good, so please don't take it along those lines. It's not about the fact that it works in good times. Right? Because if it works only in good times, then the needle in the universe has been shifted. Or it works in high-end markets. So if you're in, what is that, LVMH, LMVH, you can then never know. Okay. Sorry, there's a little derisory. I have an unfortunate point of view there. But nevertheless, it's not for those. It's not philanthropy that the rich carry out. Whether, you see stilettos in slums, right, and it doesn't kind of fit. It's not that Wall Street would not see value. Wall Street actually has evolved. By Wall Street, I mean the business of investing. From 2008, what you saw, the bottom of it, to now, Wall Street has evolved. Does anybody remember about 2 years ago, Jamie Dimon, Morgan guy, right? Put out his annual
Salary.
No. His annual view, look it up. Okay. For the first time in history of investing at that level, is somebody talking about creation of value rather than extraction of value. He talks about conscious capitalism, although not in those terms. He is alive to the fact, and a mega corp like that is alive to the fact that you have to create value before you can ask value to be brought to you. Otherwise, there's a finiteness cloud looming over you, right? And this song is begun to be sung by Bill Gates, by Vinod Khosla, by Warren Buffett. And if you watch their speeches and public utterances and their tweets and so on, things are shifting. And I think these are winds that we must recognize because you're building enterprises for the next 30, 40 years. And it will change even more. But it will be great to recognize that. It's not that once the founder leaves, it will revert. It is a risk there. Because, let's face it, your KRA sets. It's very difficult to put these things down on KRAs. These are here, KRAs are here. Right? And in any case, nobody sees KRAs after appraisal time. And then the increment time. There are too many intangibles, what will we do with it? I think an insight that I have, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who will say, that leadership is not a science. Right? Leadership is much an art as it is a science. You need the supporter to be able to have what I call wholesome leaders, wholesome leadership. And therefore, this is where this fits in. You require the rigor of measurement, you require the rigor of KRAs, etc. to keep you on track. Yet you require to sense today, tomorrow, and day after. And lastly, should it cause a lot of confusion? There's this incredible debate between optimization and maximization. Right? What do you mean by optimizing wealth creation versus maximizing? Maximizing wealth creation is a no, right? F is equal to whatever function of इसको जैसे तैसे बहुत कर दो. Optimizing क्या है? Is to take the possibility of theoretical possibility of wealth creation and spread it across your stakeholders. What does a farmer do? He fertilizes every part of his field. He fertilizes across the crop cycle. He prunes, right? If he just focused on harvest alone, without adding value to the soil, you're going to have the next harvest about 2-3% less. By the third harvest, you'll be at 50%. What is the science of taking from today and investing into tomorrow? How do you allocate R&D expenditures? Right? And you don't fix your balance sheet because your investors breathing down your neck or a shareholder or the stock market. Say, आज काटो कल देखूंगा. कल नहीं आएगा. So it will take a brave leader to say, I am not going to do this for maximization because I feel is the important thing. That optimization is a feel thing. My judgment says that I need to do. So I'll rest my case here. And I'm sure I've left a lot of philosophy on the table. But it would be great at your own time if you went back and immersed yourself in what's being written about the subject, who's tweeting what about this, where's the latest in thinking. Because this is where society and business are going. There's no going away from that. And it would be great to align ourselves with the track that is inevitable rather than the track that was. With that, I come to questions, but I want to, I brought up Maruti Suzuki as a case in point. So this is how we did it. And Maruti Suzuki is one of the most profitable companies in India. Okay. On bad times just now, EV, Uber, well, that will come out of that very easily. Inside, it's a hugely strong company. Hugely strong. Processes, deep thinking, don't buy the cheapest, very value driven, extremely ethical, extremely innovative. All that happens together. And this is what Maruti does to its stakeholders. Let me pick up pick them up segment by segment. Okay. In 1995, the price of a Maruti 800 was 1.8 lakhs. When the dies ran out and it had produced so many million, 2010 when it got phased out, it was 1.7 lakhs. 10,000 rupees less. In 1995, it had a contribution of 30 rupees. In 2010, it had a contribution of 30,000. 15 years of inflation got beaten by processes. Value engineering, volumes, defraying capital, or rather spreading capital costs on larger volumes, and not value engineering inside the factory, value engineering outside the factory. 300 senior engineers, managers are deployed in 450 vendors to help them value engineer without losing profitability, without and building their balance sheets and P&L accounts, so that the surplus is taken back into Maruti. The price keeps dropping and the vendors keep making more and more money. Right? It seems incredible. How does that happen? And we're not talking about software. We're talking steel. We're talking electronics. We're talking, well, there is software in now. We're talking very sophisticated engineering. Arguably, the automobile industry is the fount of engineering, marketing, and indeed management. That's where life started 200 years ago. Let's bring it to, and you know, the lifestyles of the owners of these companies has just gone exponential. The companies have gone like that. They've gone public. First tier, second tier, third tier, and very careful attention is paid to all. I'll come to dealers. If you don't have healthy dealers, you don't have a conduit to the market. The dealer development department, again comprising in my time of about 100 people, looking at 250 dealers, 300 dealers there, and about 500 dealership outlets. These many people actually on a monthly travel cycle, 20 days a month, sitting down with the managements of each one of these dealerships, helping them sell better, helping them cost consume better, helping them sharpen their margins, helping them get better at events, etc. Essentially, coaches at Maruti's cost to the entire dealer network. Unbeatable dealer network. Look at the process. You turn around your car in 1 hour after a service or 45 minutes. They're able to provide those SLAs. And in 2007, when mom and dad were fighting, the government of India and Suzuki, we got no fresh technology and models because of that fight, till the fight ended in 1999. And in those 3 years, 97, 98, 99, we didn't get a single piece of what happened. R&D, internal R&D brought up new models. Couldn't do much with transmissions and engines, but and we focused completely on service. Every rupee was taken out of product advertising and put into service marketing and getting our services right. So, service shops, Maruti authorized service stations, dealer service stations, dealerships themselves, they went amazingly high in profitability. And what were we allowing as margins? Maruti, what was that? Esteem VX.
Yeah.
5.35 lakhs, if I remember the number correctly, at a margin of 9,000 rupees. What, 2%? Shade under 2%. Right? Now, how does a guy make money on those margins? We had the answer. So when Ford and General Motors came knocking, we did take a hit. Market share went from 82.6 to 50%, and now about 54-55%. But he survived and drove them back to North America. As indeed a couple of Daewoo also exited and so on. It's like the telecom sector, a few days left. Between Hyundai and Maruti, 78% of the market is taken care of. 15 other guys own the rest. So that's how structures develop. So I'll leave it here. We could go on about employees. The fact is, you optimized performance you didn't maximize performance. So performance ensues. Like happiness, you can't go and say, I'll do this, and be happy. It's not possible. I've tried it. It didn't work. I've tried it many times. I'll do this, I'll get up and meditate, and suddenly I'll be this. That ensues. So I'll wrap it up with this example. I think I have 20 minutes, and I hope to engage in debate or dialogue with you. And I'll leave a little and take a breath on you.
Can I ask a
Over to
question?
you, please.
Can I go first, Vivek?
Can I just take this off? This will help you actually, and this will help the people here take the discussion forward. And I am very curious on black money. This will help all the people forward. So fascinating talk first of all. Very, very pertinent topic for this whole century, not just now. But I do believe that just like Maslow's triangle exists in people's life, everyone is familiar with Maslow's triangle, right? I believe, this is my belief, I have not read it, this is my own thinking, that Maslow's triangle is also relevant for in the life of a startup, right? So if you take the Maslow's triangle for a startup, this is survival. This is stability. And just to simplify it, this is conscious
Self-exploitation.
capitalism. Then that is for personal use. This is conscious capitalism. So now, most of the companies are actually here, where survival is in question. And I know the answer, but I want you to communicate that even if they are here, they need to keep this in mind.
You said it already.
They cannot really do this right now because कुछ है ही नहीं अपने पास. However, right, I'll give you example of my own children when they were growing up. They were in this stage, right? So we gave them pocket money, but a part of that pocket money had to be given for social cause. So it was not that they had 10 rupees or 100 rupees or whatever. उसमें से 5 तो दे सकते हैं. So I think the most important thing, and I want your view on this, our companies are here. How do they keep this in mind, and what do they have to do today to be able to?
In fact, your question has not the seed of the answer, but it has the entire answer inside it. And I'm only, as they say, put the lipstick on the pig.
सर आप पिक के लिए बड़े डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी हो रहे हैं.
No, I love pork. You know, ये है जवाब. ये है जवाब. There is no boundary. Your share of thought, your share of mind here may be different from here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if this is Vanaprast, and you're going to, and you're in what way? What's that? Huh? Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, your value system, your sanskars are embedded from the parental, right? आप इस boundary को हटा दीजिए, खत्म हो गई कहानी. So, my thought to your thoughts is simply this. समय लगाइए to think about, you already do. You already think about what your organization will be or what you want it to be 5 or 10 years later, right? But it's the structure of that thought that probably is the supplementary answer. Are you thinking about your organization in terms of its size, its profitability, its share price, etc.? Please go ahead and do that. Also think very hugely. 10 minute rows or एक दिन महीने में, I don't know, whatever your time allocation is. I can't prescribe that, I'm not the doctor. That's what you want, it's your company. The question is, what do you want it to be, not in these aspects, but in terms of its durability, its infiniteness, its value creation, its impact on society, it's moving the, I was having this little chat while walking to the shack last evening with Sunil. And again at a philosophical level, the three big sectors of India that are crying for attention are education,
Yes.
health, and food, right? On food, you're blessed because you actually have the opportunity to feed the world. Your productivity, in spite of the best rain, the best sunshine, and the best soils, is 22% of global standards. You have a five-fold, your population is not going to go up 5 times in the next 30 years. You have the opportunity to feed the world, which is falling short of all these. They're saturated at that level. Now, who's going to solve that problem? And tech is going to solve it. Deep tech is going to solve it. AI is going to solve it. You name it, and we'll get into another long discussion soon someday. Health. I see a classic example. Vinod is organizing. He's just come up with this this thought. It's already in action. So I listened to him on his channel or YouTube. The guy's a great thinker, amazing thinker actually. He's far evolved. Had the privilege of being in the same classroom with him for many years. My batch, my segment or whatever. This hospital floats. This hospital travels up the Brahmaputra, down the Brahmaputra, and makes 6 trips a year, stopping by at villages. It's already cash positive within almost a year, right? You're serving the lowest of society in terms of affordability, and yet you can afford a hospital ship. It's how you think about it. Arvindaya Hospital, 7 sigma level of operations. Dr. Devi Shetty's heart, this thing, 6 sigma level of operation, hugely profitable, hugely profitable. So this is not, philanthropy ke profit nahi ban raha hai. The question is, which God are you praying to? And we Indians have this amazing ability to pray to 11, 12 at a time. Okay, that's a skill. We can hold effectively 11, sometimes opposing sets of values within one chest. So, erase that boundary you're through.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
You gave us an example of Maruti Suzuki.
Go big with it.
Yeah, you gave us an example of Maruti Suzuki, which, for lack of a better term, I would say highly capital-intensive business, where you have dealer networks which are invested in, and so on and so forth. And the value creation process, the valuation process of that company, I feel might be significantly different than the kind of companies we are running here, which are mostly tech companies, where everything you can imagine is on a subscription basis. We subscribe to AWS, we subscribe to another tool for storage and for computing and for everything, and we subscribe to our own business. The only assets we invest in are people and the IP and probably the customers, acquisition of customers. Should the metric be different?
Of course.
Yeah, and would you lead us into some kind of thinking on what kind of, how do we create valuation for this?
Now that's where I've got a problem. I cannot understand yet, and maybe it's because I'm getting old. I can't understand this term called valuation. मेरे इस बिल्कुल समझ में नहीं आता. Value की बात करते हो मैं इसको सवाल से. Value is revenue either or cost management, middle line, bottom line. वहाँ मैं comfortable. ये valuation का जो भूत है ये मेरे समझ में अभी नहीं आया और आएगा भी नहीं. Right? क्योंकि there's a fundamental flaw in that work. If there was a precise way of determining, Samuelson had a precise way, it never worked. He wanted two graphs to cross and say ये होंगे दाम. वो किसके अब्बा जान वो ग्राफ बनाएंगे? वो समझ नहीं. Right? So valuation is when you and I shake hands. Like beauty, it's in the eye of the beholder. You choose what the share price ought to be. Now, you're actually buying into an asset called a company at that price. Divorced from its money-making, wealth-generating capability, You're buying a machine that you don't know what it produces. You're buying a machine at a price, पता नहीं पंप खरीद लिया, पता नहीं कितने liters per hour में जाएगा, समझ में नहीं आया. Now, as far as this is concerned, you're talking about your enterprise today, right? Projected into 10 years. This is what you do today, right? What's your pathway to non-finiteness? Who likely are you going to serve in the course of the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 12 years? Beyond 100 meters, your eye cannot see. Do you have a possibility, sorry, beyond a kilometer or whatever it is, do you have the discipline, we have the discipline, to stop every 100 meters during running, hard stop, look to 1.1 kilometers and start running again and stop again, because these tell you the pathway to follow. I don't have it. Philosophically, I can subscribe, I can ask you to subscribe to it, that's about it. Think about all of us, because we are a lot in unformed, unchallenged, heretofore unchallenged markets, which is why we're there. This is the frontiers that we are at. Think about all of us navigating a deep, dark, dense, rich forest. You have to stop. You have to recalibrate the pathway. Nala aa gaya. अब मैं कहीं तो जाऊंगा. I'll climb on top of a tree to take a look. But if you keep running in that definition of business, it's going to be a little while before it will trip over. Now, to your question, I don't know the answer, except for one hint, so to speak, that this recalibration of your P&L account. P&L account is projected, and usually there are imprints for the past. The ability for an organization to reinvent its P&L every 6 months, reinvent, zero waste. That requires you to think forward, think backward, compress this, expand that. And typically our minds actually are taught to be linear. They taught you, that stuff. Trend line kya ja rahi hai. So, without giving you a specific answer, I don't know your business, but I can smell and sense that the struggle you have is what now and what next. And that requires careful definition, work. More importantly, it requires pause. This is something I'm struggling to teach my company. The difference between me and the average age of senior management in the company is 30 years, right? And I'm trying to say, run like hell, and then pause like hell, and then run like hell, and then pause like hell. This run, pause, 27 feet, 26 4, I'm talking about days, allows you that introspection time, breathing time, climbing a tree time, to be able to see new paths. Philosophical, but that's the best I can give you, right? These P&L accounts, these P&L statements projected of the past are very limiting. And at this age of the lives of organizations, you cannot be limited by these equations. I don't know what in your cost line, in your organization, the question that I have is, in the cost line and in the revenue line separately, who in your organization is responsible for scanning the entire environment to say who's doing what about costs and what are the emerging opportunities to compress? Revenues. You can talk about business development. Our business development are door knockers, right? Who are the Imagineers? You call them challengers.
Yeah.
Who are the Imagineers of what your revenue lines could look like? What are the inputs that they have in order to understand that, in order to construct that imagination? Hypothesis 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Is there a formal way of 1.2, 2.0, 3.0? Or every time we engineer a 1.0, it gets dissipated and lost in the universe, 15 days later we start again. Your organizational processes, thought processes, and institutionalizing all that is the key to tomorrow. We don't know. In automobiles, we know we want to produce four-legged animals. But did somebody recognize 3 years ago that the world will be overtaken by EV? Maruti had. What did it do? It created a JV with Toyota and said, you guys, we have the distribution, you guys have the engineering. Can we come together? 3 years later. Because somebody imagined that तेल वेल का तो पंगा होने वाला है. You're at $51 today. Yesterday Brent price was 51, right? The rate at which solar power is going, is there a case for Brent being at $5? Right? If it goes somewhere below in the long trend, your engines are back again because they're competing with other forms of energy. I don't know the specific answer, I don't have specific business, but those are pointers that I can.
Just one last question. Yeah, Tahir.
You talked about sense of purpose, right? So how do you permeate this across the organization as people come into the organization and the organization grows? One of the challenges that people like us face is how do you permeate this, because you started as a founder with a purpose and that purpose stays with you. But as people come into the organization, as you build layers of management and people into that, the purpose somehow doesn't permeate, it doesn't get into, because people's goals and people's aspirations kind of start misaligning with that purpose with which you actually start.
I can try and thoughtfully lead you to an answer. How old are you?
I'm 42.
Married?
Yeah.
Children?
Yes.
Okay, good. That gives me the segue to an answer. So the postulate that I offer for your consideration is management is a lot like parenting. किताबों में नहीं है. My invoice follows. But jokes aside, it's a lot like parenting. Sanskar, the installing of values to see that the values are on track. Your 18-year-old will understand it greatly, but if you had 6 children, which I'm sure you don't, your 2-year-old won't get it, right? But the 2-year-old will be watching the 6-year-old, will be watching the 10-year-old. So, Yatha Raja Tatha Praja is a good metaphor or a good theorem to follow. The amount of time that you spend with your top team without those dratted piano playing devices on the table, the amount of time that is spent in chest-to-chest talk of what defines our enterprise, what should define our enterprise, the amount of time that dad talks about values and mom talks about the practice of values is management. Take a look at how you parent great children and how you parent great organizations. I almost didn't learn it forever. Till about 10-15 years ago, I was really lost. Turning an old, ailing 70-year-old, 60-year-old company around to health required no new technology and no new financial engineering. I had to bring back grandma values to make it jump from 65 rupees to 800 rupees in share price. Right? But challenged as I was, I had to find different ways. And those ways came out of silence, introspection, not alone, but with people, with unions, for example. So, away from there, I'd urge you to think about transmitting these down the line, and your 2-year-old will not get it. Your office boy won't get it, but he'll catch it. It's in the air. It's a very healthy virus to catch. So, spend a lot of time with your first line. Get them to spend more time with their second line. Believe you me, that is the most productive time. And you know what? We often minimize that time to maximize transaction time. Actually, it works against itself. So, a good way that the Japs do it, and last example, because I know I'm running out of time, the Japs, I learned it the Jap way. So the guy used to take over from a chap called Kozo Senga, director, marketing and sales, and he was headed back to Japan. And I was to take his place. And Senga-san rarely, if ever, spoke a word during the meeting. At the end of the meeting, he'd probably say a few sentences. right? And then when everybody had gone, and those sentences would be distant because all the time you would be taking notes in pencil. I repeat, in pencil. Now there's a reason for that. At the end of the meeting, he'd say a little bit, and that was it. And it would be very, very succinct, very, very nuanced, extremely tight. And he'd never walk out of the conference room. He'd sit there with an eraser. His little dubby had pencils and an eraser. He'd rewrite his notes in about 3-4 minutes to sharpen them, to deliver them better, to recall them better. Yeah? And he'd spend a lot of time, but the day I joined the company, I got, I think, 2 years ahead was Auto Expo, 1.5 years ahead. I got a thick file like that, neatly bound. To the last detail, 1.5, 2 years earlier, somebody had imagined where the cars would come from across the world, what the thing would look like, project. And it's done for every project. You start thinking far in advance. And Saga-san would say, Malsan, if there's one thing I want to leave behind, which is Japanese and non-Indian, you guys have a lot of energy. He says, when we plan, we don't do, when we do, we don't plan. When we plan, we don't do. Now we are doing and planning, literally inventing on the fly. I suggest to you, it's like saying, kadunga bhi aur shaan bhi saath saath karunga. Nahi hota. So the amount of time organizations spend in sharpening the axe is crucial. Now, you'll never get it in a formula form in minutes and so on. You know. It's clear enough. It's transmitted enough. Then just leave it there because you're like a magnet here. So then,
A round of applause.
It couldn't have been better. I still go back to just 10 days ago, Sanjay was planning this session and he said, Sunil, it's best to get a practitioner for this. And we are happy. You know what we did? We just wrote to Raj Shodhya that I need a practitioner from India to conduct this session with our startups. And he connected me to Rohtash. Now look at the thing, a person who's known next to you and 0 degree of separation, and you discover the practitioner this way. You may be eager to interact with him, you would like to take a 10 minutes break, do one-on-one interactions during this particular 10 minutes tea break, and then let's reconvene at 11:10, and then we will go into the feedback session, learnings, action points, etc. And Rohtash, I can't tell you, when he was in US, about 5 days back I connected him and he said, Sri, I'll come, that's it. So thanks for that particular generosity for us.
I didn't tell you why I came. Sunil was a command. But the impetus, and sitting 12 hours away in the US and said, I will come. I just checked my calendar and said, take this. Like the sharpening of the axe, it gives me an opportunity to reinstill the same values in myself, because even on your own you erode. It's like you take your foot off the accelerator, the car will coast to a stop. You have to be reminded, it's almost autonomous, that your foot needs to be on the accelerator, even to maintain present speed. To me, Sunil, a great reason was, I will need to go back, refresh myself. मैं रोज कहता हूँ और मैं रोज भूल जाता हूँ. मुझे भी टाइम चाहिए दोबारा अपने आप को याद दिलाने के लिए. That these are the values to coast along by.
Thank you. I would like you to hand over a small token of appreciation, just a presence.
You shouldn't have done it. If I give you in keeping with this, it's only about the conscious part, not the capital. It's the fact that you're conscious. Almost
The more edible, the better.
Thank you, Sunil. This is food for thought.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
The rooms last night.
3 o'clock. कोई रास्ते में पड़ा हुआ रहेगा?
पर्दे में रहने दो।
या दुबई का
हो जाएगा।
What happens in God doesn't stay in God.
Please let it stay Goa only.
I heard some strange knocking on the door.
हमने घर में जाना है।
What are you on?
No, what
306.
was I thought I would actually start off.
What are you on?
Best was we went and knocked 306 twice last night. Some poor sod, sozzled and sleeping there, would have just got in completely because all his high would have dissipated completely. At what, 1:30 in the night, I think? 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock in the night, 3 people went and knocked his door and we were okay. I'm glad he did completely that.
Oh, it was somebody outsider.
Some other guy.
अरे बाप रे।
Okay, chalo, good. I thought I'd do a couple of knockouts, but obviously.
Many knockouts though.
Yeah.
Where somebody still knocked out.
No, I know that. I'm aware. It's messed up something, but that's okay. It happens. Okay, I think all of us would have loved to keep this going for another night at least. But unfortunately, work calls, home calls, people have to get back, reality calls. So you know, there is this thing called tamanna. I'm sorry if some of you don't get the word. You know what tamanna is, right? So one something which somebody wrote for me once, and I'll just try and end with it. Just तमन्ना ने जिंदगी के आंचल में सर रखकर पूछा, मैं पूरी कब होंगी? तमन्ना ने जिंदगी के आंचल में सर रखकर पूछा, मैं पूरी कब होंगी? जिंदगी ने हंस के जवाब दिया, जो पूरी हो जाए वो तमन्ना ही
ये इसमें तो हमें YourNest बंद करना पड़ेगा अगर आप I want people to पूरी देर तक
No, that tamanna will get over.
No, the refake out
That
करने के
happened,
बारे में
we're
बात
on the
करें।
road. We're definitely on that road now. Okay, so we're going to just wrap this up very quickly without any major shosha. I think we've got there. So I'm going to hand over to Sanjay. He's got 2 little things to do, and with that we should be on our way thereafter.
What a lovely evening yesterday. I still have a hoarse throat. Just so that you know, in the last 30 years I don't think I've danced in a party.
Yes.
And
We have evidence. Yeah.
Dhruv knows I have attended enough at his place and he's always been upset on this count. Anyway, how do you feel right now about these few hours spent with each other?
Wonderful. Awesome.
Okay, everybody say one word.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Your choice word, it's okay.
Like reunion.
And in the dictionary is like you can use any word from the dictionary, lexicon. Go ahead, give me a word.
Frat house.
Huh? He's saying bravo.
Bravo.
Bravo, sir.
अभी ऐसा खत्म नहीं हुआ। Terrific.
Give me a word.
It's like a family reunion. Family reunion.
Connected.
Reunion.
Connected.
Bonding.
Yeah. Old man, not you, sir. The one next to you.
Recovery.
Honest, I like that. I'm going to push you guys.
Fantastic.
Okay?
Hi.
Still?
Without drinking, without smoking, without anything.
Recharged.
How about you?
Connected.
Yeah.
Defocused.
Horse.
Okay. You remember what all happened since we came here day before yesterday?
Yeah, we do.
Just take a quick, recap of what all you went through in your own minds. In fact, I'll make it a little organized. Sorry about the throat today. Day before yesterday, we had a small session here, and then we went out and we did an exercise about. Well, that was conscious capitalism, wasn't it? In some way, little way, right? You did do some good that day. Then yesterday was a series of conversations, getting to know people, takeaways, understanding the concept about your engineering, and there was a time to showcase your skills as non-entrepreneurs, your social skills and your virtues as artists last evening, right? Great evening. Artistic drinking, artistic dancing, artistic singing, and what you did after that was also to be part of your individual knowledge basis. Morning, fantastic session this morning. For me, this was really the cherry on the cake in terms of the 4% and the 96% workout, or 6% and 94% getting impacted equally in this case. Interestingly, Vivek also brought up this point yesterday that you brought about the left and right brain, and it's kind of getting reinforced here. So I have, part one is a series of 3 quick sessions. Session number 1, from each table, I want a quick 3-minute conversation on what are your key takeaways from these 3 sessions as a group from each table, and you have only 3 minutes. We'll go very fast on time. So top of the mind, 3 takeaways is question number 1. Your conversation time begins now. You can also have One minute to go. You should write. And there's already been a demand for wanting to be the first speaker. Sharu. You're going to submit at the end a sheet on which you've written these 3.
सारी प्रॉब्लम सेम है, टेकअवेज भी लगभग सेम ही होंगे. So the first is suddenly our family has increased now over the last 48 hours. I think, you know, it's just multiplied by 6x, 7x, 10x, whatever. So I think we just have a sense of belongingness now. We know, you know, we are more open, I think, and I think the reason it happened so quickly that we all share the same problems and we understand, you know, that there's somewhere that common thread of pain and, you know, and passion as well. So I think that was a takeaway for us, that we can reach out. So suddenly the pool of, you know, reaching out to people, our network has increased in every area, in operations, strategy, execution, in all the domains. I feel like I think 10 people would have told me, you know, we know this group or that group in this city, and have you reached out to this, that? I mean, over just last 2 days. Second is that there is no substitution for experts, right? I mean, एक बंदे को टांग पे खड़ा होके कुछ करना पड़ेगा. You may want to have to do something to get there, but there's no substitute for experts. I think was a big takeaway for us. And run like hell and pause like hell. I think we get so mad, we're so passionate about us, you know, our stuff, that we keep running like hell and we don't pause and look which direction we are heading sometimes. So I think those were the 3 key takeaways for us.
Sorry, Dhruv? No, I want you to come over. If there's anything different from what she said, you could add that on.
Yes, the first point is the same, so I'm not talking about that. That's just one big family. The next 2 that we wrote is sense of purpose. I think that's something which we all had a very important takeaway from. We keep running, but the whole last 2 days has given us a lot of sense of purpose to all of us. And the importance of mentors. I think that's something which came out very clearly, that in our life we do tend to do a lot of mistakes. And mentors are not people who will always talk good stuff, and they should not idly talk good stuff. They are the ones who will bash you up. And if we have mentors in our lives, it will just make the journey simpler. So that's from our side.
Wonderful, thank you. Who are you passing the mic on to? Who are you passing the mic on to?
I think we've got most of the same points, but yeah, collective power of the group was the most powerful thing. I think all of us agreed that how being connected and suddenly opens up to the world of possibilities. It's not just about me standing alone and facing this problem alone. And we talked about it yesterday. Dr. Mansingh said that try reaching out at least, and before you kind of decide in your own mind that, oh no, everybody's in the same shit, why should I even reach out? I think the collective power of the group was something that was there. And I think what opened up today was, I think the switch really turned on and everything kind of was very beautifully summarized in the 60 minutes that we heard Rohtash speaking. And when Dr. Mansingh drew that triangle and the lines disappeared, and he said, you think of your eventual objective right now. You do not just create an organization that is focused purely on surviving. Your conscious capitalism, the aspiration to head towards that happens right now. And so the point around, the 2-year-old and a 16-year-old, the analogy with the family bit was a perfect one. So that was something that really opened up. That what you aspire to be, start your journey right now. Don't think that अच्छा अभी ये सब हो जाएगा उसके बाद I will figure out what I need to get done. So those were the things that opened up.
Love it, love it.
You want to hand it to somebody?
Got it. So obviously the connected part comes common to everyone, but the first and the most critical takeaway for me has been that if you have a 9 AM meeting, do not mix LITs and beer. And I'm very sure Vinay and a lot of people would agree to this. But as a group we realized that there's something so common about all founders. I don't know if anybody else observed this, that you put us in different groups to do absolutely different things. Most of these things either get never done before or we had no experience with. But somehow, when you put us together, it was not like we were working together for the first time. It was natural. We communicated naturally. We started giving tasks naturally. We started listening to each other naturally. There was nobody saying, "Arey bhai, yahan ka group head mein hai." Dr. Singh said, "Iska paddle case ki brake kaise lagni hai?" I mean, him asking us. So it's a good example how you put entrepreneurs together. And if they have a common trait, they'll somehow figure out a way to make it happen and listen to each other. So I believe that if not today, tomorrow, all these founders I met in this trip will either be working with me in the future, or when I start competing with you and open my own fund, most probably some of these people will be co-founders with me. So thank you.
Can I add one more point that came to me after we started talking? See, the background of this whole event in the last couple of days. The background of this whole event in the last couple of days, as I come to think of it, is Kaise Kuroge unicorn, right? And then we are talking about it when we are not even a unicorn or minicon or any kind of a babycorn, basically. So, but my thought process is that when we sit in our four walls, back in Chennai, back in Bangalore, back in Bombay, we are getting busy with our day-to-day lives, and then we brainstorm within the limited resources we have. But now this opens up a whole new world. Each one of us here wants to become a unicorn, and you are one among them. And then if your thought process is in alignment with theirs at the fundamental goal level, any problem you open up to this forum is also going to reflect on the unicorn theory. And that's going to open up a whole new world of, I think 13 companies are here, I don't know how many of them exactly, but that many opportunities open up if you can start connecting at a different level altogether. I didn't know many of them at a personal level before today. So I think this is going to open a whole new world of interactions. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. Will you pass on to the next group?
Yeah, hi. So for us, there were three slightly different takeaways from whatever we saw and whatever we discussed. First was, I was just talking to Sunil that many of the things which have been spoken here are there in maybe subconscious mind for everyone. But sometimes communicating these kind of things in a formal way or informal way is very important to bring it in forefront of your mind and start actively thinking. So what we realize that communication and then probably reinforcing of that message within our teams, within our groups is very important for us to drive the message eventually, whatever we want to do. The second one is taking a clue from today morning's discussion about the stakeholders and whatever we discussed. I think our stakeholders go much beyond our employees and our customers. I think it's also about our families. I think we are responsible for them. It's also about the environment, what we are impacting. There are some businesses which will impact the environment like automobiles and those kind of things. And also the entire ecosystem is our stakeholders, and I think we have to be somewhere cautious about that, what exactly we will do eventually. And the last one was the best one, which is derived from what we saw on the first day, that we all made the cycles, and we were not aware of, the Karthik mentioned about this point, we were not aware about the outcome, what it will have. So what we had, outcome was that the kids came in and we finally handed over. So what we meant here is that we all need to do whatever we need to do, and you never know what exactly in store for you. Maybe unicorn, maybe double unicorn, thrice unicorn, whatever happens. But if you put the effort in the right direction, in the right way, the outcome can be really, really pleasant in future. And you don't know what.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks. So by now most of the points are covered. However, I would like to extend what Tushar has said and here is the things really can be achieved with the people who you even don't know. And the purpose has to be clear, it has to be well communicated, people are aligned. So once that thing happens, anything can be achieved even if you don't know your teams and people know. So that is one learning. The second learning is there has been a lot of self-opening which happened. There are a lot of possibilities which we can see now as compared to when we were here. The last thing is there is again reinforcement of human values in the transactions. Most of the transactions which we do as part of our daily work life are based on commercial outcomes. We just move if there is a commercial interest in that transaction. However, we should also look the human value which is coming out of those transactions. So, so at least that thing will be part of our business strategy now.
Lovely. Absolutely. Can I request each group to give me the sheet? The next question is for yourself. And I would like you to write down the answer. I'm going to give you only 1 minute for this. There are 2 questions, I'll give you one by one. Question number 1 is, at this point of time, in your life's journey, in your journey over here, can you put down, whatever are you grateful for? What do you feel you are grateful for? And you have only 1 minute to write down. For you. You are a sentient, intelligent, gifted, capable human being. You have the power to do anything and you have the power to affect anybody. And it's your choices which are going to affect that. For the last couple of days, I've heard you say this just a moment ago, some experiences have influenced you. There might have been thoughts in your mind about enlightenment, about getting new ideas, about new thoughts. The last question to you is, and I'll give you 2 minutes to think and then a minute to write. Is there anything that you would choose to do differently beginning today? Things that you were doing earlier that you don't want to do, or things you were not doing earlier you would like to do? Before you write down, give yourself a couple of minutes to reflect. Again, I'm putting time pressure for a particular reason. 2 minutes, I'll tell you when 2 minutes are over. Just reflect for 2 minutes. And then write down whatever. Any thoughts that have been catalyzed, any thoughts that have been formed, any ideas that seem relevant, any shortcomings that have been identified, any strengths that have been highlighted, that will help you choose any course correction for yourself. This program is only the second such program we have done, and those who participated in the first one would probably see a substantial difference in this one compared to the first one. The idea behind this program is it's a founders retreat, and we want it to be given as much as possible by the founders' requirements than by anything else. So, if you'll take a few minutes out and help us out by putting on a separate piece of sheet of paper, which I hope you can give to us, things you would like in subsequent founders meet, whether it's frequency, things which you saw here, you want to continue, things that you found missing, that you realize would be good for you, for all the founders put together, mechanism, food, location, content, anything that you want. And that applies to the YourNest team as well, with this mindset. I'd like you to also contribute to this. How would you want the next founders to be? It's kind of feedback for us. Any thoughts you can do? Just put it on a piece of paper and share it with us. Back with you. And we'll construct for the next one now. In the next few days' time. Which can always evolve. Including frequency, including any other ideas you want. Topicality. Asking Vivek to summarize his thoughts on the program and share it with us, almost like a capsule takeaway, if I may say so. You ready for that?
Okay, guys. All the papers collected? So to summarize, can we stop the side conversation, please? I'm tough guy, man. अभी तक आपको समझ में नहीं आया है? Okay, so 5 takeaways very quickly. For me and for many of you, you guys are wonderful group of people. Give a big round of applause to yourself. We know you well now, many of you know each other well, you have already captured it. It's a wonderful to know each one of you. So as YourNest, I think we have done a tremendous job of selecting the type of people we want to fund, and you are wonderful people. You all have managed to manage the adversity well so far. आप लेकिन सबकी कहानी कल आपने सुनी. You all have managed the adversity, you all felt it in different ways and you have managed it well. You are all open to learning and coaching. That is very good to see. How many of you have requested to meet me and other people? I'm sure that is very, very nice to see. You all have won some good customers by now. Almost every one of you have won the customers, right? You all have matured as entrepreneurs. I have met you over several months, years, and I see maturity coming up well. So all of that is reflected in your observations and mine. Now some serious talk as a mentor, right? Like I said yesterday, we have a lot more to do than where we are. Today, none of our companies जो यहाँ पे हैं, they are at a level that is, very satisfactory. एक भी company नहीं है यहाँ पे जो satisfactory है. And if you talk to our customers, which means YourNest customers, which are the people who have given us funds, they are not thrilled. So अगर हम उनके पास जाते हैं तो they are asking us tough questions.
क्या हो रहा है बॉस, 5 साल 7 साल ये क्या हो रहा है? And you saw some of that in the investors meet. So please understand that we have customers too. We are nice people, we are trying to help you, but हमारा customer is saying कि आपके nice होने के लिए नहीं पैसा दिया था मैंने आपको. So understand that we are under pressure as well. So what do you do in just 1 minute here? For all of you to become much bigger companies than you are today, whether it's $100 million, billion dollar, whatever that is, your single-minded focus has to be the next round of funding. उसके बिना आप कहीं कोई नहीं जा रहा है. So each one of you should have a goal that you will get funded in whatever 1 year, 6 months, 18 months, whatever your time frame is, by top tier VCs. ये आपका single pointed goal होना चाहिए. Every other goal should be derived from that. आप even नाम लिख लीजिए कि these are the 5 VCs we will target in 18 months or 1 year to get funded. Right? Very, very important. Make sure your unique value proposition remains strong. नहीं तो fund ही नहीं होंगे आप. You will again be sort of on the mercy of कहीं इधर उधर से पैसा इकट्ठा कर लिया, कहीं ये कर लिया, कहीं वो कर लिया, कुछ होने वाला नहीं है. यूनिकॉर्न्स ऐसे नहीं क्रिएट होती हैं बॉस. So make sure your unique value proposition is there, it can sustain, and it has the sustaining power of several years. Right? Build teams and A teams. Your funding is not going to come easily unless you have A teams in your thing. अभी आप वो सारी स्टेज क्रॉस कर चुके हो, other than some fund 2 funded companies, जहाँ पे आपके पास टीम होनी चाहिए, which is your final team. T20 World Cup आ गया है. We are all criticizing our Indian BCCI कि यार आ गया है, आप ये एक्सपेरिमेंट ही करते जा रहे हो, ये क्या हो रहा है इंडिया? They losing bloody 3 matches of 1 day and now test match second is lost. आपकी एक्सपेरिमेंट ही नहीं खत्म हो रही है. What is this? Where is the T20 team that is going to play World Cup? Answer नहीं है. Are you thrilled about that? No. I am absolutely pissed. Right? क्या हो रहा है तमाशा? So we need to do that in our case, and we need to have a team. Win some customers that without doubt establish you that your market product fit is there. So ऐसे aspirational, अभी आप सब 5-5, 7-7 साल हो गया है, you need to win some customers, जैसे आपका Pfizer है, जैसे आपका, so many examples. Win जहाँ पे आपकी product and customer fit की कोई doubt ही नहीं रह जाती. Again आप fund नहीं होगे unless you are there. 1-2 customer से कुछ नहीं होगा, because the VC will tell you these may be your friends and all that. I need a broader data. And wherever your geographical market is, अगर आप कहते हैं US में है तो US के customers लाइए 4-5. अगर आप कहते हैं कि एशिया में है, एशिया के लाइए customers. Most of our companies are going to be global at some point. उसका sign कहाँ है? उसके बिना फंडिंग आपकी नहीं आएगी. We are with you to help you. हम सारी हेल्प आपको प्रोवाइड करते हैं, बट प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड कि हमें भी प्रेशर है. हमारे कस्टमर्स आर नॉट हैप्पी विद अस. राइट? व्हाई इज मेंटरिंग इंपॉर्टेंट? आई जस्ट कवर इन 1 मिनट, क्योंकि मैंने पहले बोला हुआ है, जो लोग इन्वेस्टर्स उसमें थे, इफ यू लुक फॉर गाइडेंस फ्रॉम द टॉप लीडर्स, इट इज वेरी कंफ्यूजिंग. I'll again say, right? Steve Jobs says, your customers are not supposed to know what they need. Your customers are not supposed to know what they need. वो Steve Jobs कहते हैं. Jeff Bezos क्या कहते हैं? Start from customers and build the product they need. Completely opposite advice. दोनों ही दादा हैं. Right? Michael Dell says, ideas are dime a dozen, execution is not. John Chambers बोलते हैं, give me a good idea, I'll build a company around it. So सारी conflicting advice है. हर एक स्टार्टअप की जर्नी बहुत डिफरेंट और इंटरेस्टिंग है, तो इसलिए आपको मेंटर चाहिए. वो मेंटर YourNest से आए या कहीं बाहर से आए, we don't really care, but you need to surround, and many of you have concluded that you need expert advice, you need a mentor and so on. I'm glad that point is clear. So चाहे आप YourNest के अंदर से लीजिए, चाहे बाहर से लीजिए, संजय, मी, सुनील, गिरीश, सतीश, we are The only VC company I can tell you, and I know all of these players who are uniquely qualified to help our companies in different areas of expertise. कोई और VC को हम ऐसे नहीं जानते, ना willingness है किसी में. 100 कंपनी फंड करते हैं तो कहाँ तक किसको कौन हेल्प करेगा, कंपनी के बारे में ही पता होता है. So we are there for you, but please also understand we need to go to the next orbit. So single point goal. I am happy to help work with each one of you. I'm sure Sanjay, Sunil, everyone will help you. Sunil जो दिल्ली के हैं उनसे सुनील से मिलिए. क्या आपको चाहिए criteria for a significant round of funding, $5-10 million from a top tier VC? क्या criteria आपको meet करना है? Put that on the paper and work through that. I shared that with Gautam. I've shared that with many of you. अगर वो नहीं हो रहा है, your company is in trouble. इधर उधर से पैसे रेस करने से यूनिकॉर्न नहीं क्रिएट होते. Right? So with that, I'll close. Sanjay, any other point you want me to highlight? All the best to you guys. You are all wonderful people. We want you to be successful and we are there to help you succeed. But success ऐसे आसानी से नहीं आती है, intention से नहीं आती है, willingness और aspiration से नहीं आती है. You have to work your tails off and we are there to help you. Thank you so much.
I thought, thanks Vivek for waking people up. I was just wondering if anybody was still drowsy from last night's, excesses and needed to be brought back to reality. Two quick points. Number one, thank you for coming over, taking the time out. I know what it means to leave your teams in such hours of desperate situations all over. Thank you, really, really. Some couldn't make it. I understand they can't make it, but I'm privileged and extremely happy that you could. Extremely happy to have met so many of you in less trying circumstances, shall we say. Getting to see, hopefully being able to share the human side of the equation. Hoping also that you got a chance to meet human beings and not just founders and not just business leaders. I hope a few connects have been made, and I hope you will think it worthwhile to let these grow a natural process. No messaging here, but for me it was one of the best experiences I have had. So much so that it made me dance last night. What more can I say? And thank you to Charo in particular, for multiple reasons, including the fact that that energy was something that we saw. So far I've only seen through with that kind of energy, so that is like two people now. I'm going to move forward and do something which is a little token from our side. I'm going to do it in the most crass and casual kind of way. This is the Bhanumati ka pitara. Please come here. Table by table maybe. Pick up something and go back to your table, please. It'll take 1 minute. It'll take 1 minute. It'll take 1 minute. No, you can't. Sorry. Sorry. The flight will wait. Don't wait. So, come and go. Please, everybody. Just come over, pick one. Come, everybody. Come. In 30 seconds, take this and go back. 29 seconds, 28 seconds, 26. Not this one. 25, 24. Countdown time. Just pick anything and go. And then please don't carry the whole ribbon with you. No, just not hard. Alright. Just pick one. Just pick one and go. 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 Has everybody got one? Everybody? Yes, please. Yes, I can see. And please don't open these. These are not meant to be opened yet. Okay? Are you there? Everybody has one? Show me your gift, please. Everybody has one? Nobody without one? Okay.
Nobody has, but I have one also.
Everybody is allowed to have only one. Alright. So here's what we'll do. Something we've done in a similar way yesterday. Take a seat for half an hour. Just 10 seconds. So I can explain it easily. This is not your gift. This is your opportunity. It's an opportunity to go and say, be my friend to one person. Alright? Anybody, not somebody you already know, anybody new. Go, give it to the person. He cannot or she cannot give the gift back to you. So either you will have 2 gifts or you will have no gifts. That's okay. But this is your chance to make a friend. You're going to earn a friend by giving the gift to somebody. I'm not in this. I'm out of this. So anybody else. Get up from the table. Dost kise banana hai, yahan pe aur samjho. Now once you have 2, if you can make 2 friends. As long as you have a gift, you can make a friend. As long as you have a gift, you can make a friend. But then, don't just give it, tell them you want them to be friends.
I want more.
You can make one more.
सबको मैं पहले से जानता हूँ.
No, you can only pass it now actually. It's like good karma. Alright, can you take a seat back please? Take a seat. Take a seat.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have to kind of stop this halfway through. But the idea is simple. We are all in a position to give gifts and buy friends. Alright? This was hopefully a little more than that. If you have 2-3 ones you want to share with some others, okay? Otherwise you can just come and pick one up from here. It's perfectly alright. Anybody can pick a one. Who doesn't have one? I'd like you to carry one back with you. If you've got more than one, you are lucky. Thank you very much for being a great audience. For the sake of running away.
देखो ऐसा है, मेरे को स्टेज नहीं मिला, ठीक है? This is my 2 minutes. This is my 2 minutes in the limelight.
आपको ये पता है कि किसी को नहीं मिला.
वो तो मुझे पता है. Okay, guys, it was truly a pleasure to be here. It was truly a pleasure to know people when their hair are down, when there are no hang-ups, when there are no valuation and funding discussions on the table. And I'm really taking back very fond memories over the last 2 days, and I hope that you guys are also have had a good time. We made it, we tried our best to make this as comfortable and as informal as we could. We have your suggestions and we will ensure that we outdo ourselves the next time. And there is lunch planned after you wrap up in Casulin. So please, before you guys get out, do definitely have the last bite at ITC Grand.
Nobody said hooray!
And please check out on time.
So lunch is served. Where is it served?